Caseus, Jedi Master. Chapter 16. The sun was now high in the skies above Cloud City, as Caseus sat on the wing of the nebulous, staring at the ocean of clouds, holding Sarah's braid in his hand. I wish you were here, Sarah. Liara is learning so fast. It's hard to keep up with her at times. Should we just let it be? Just leave it alone?
Oh, Captain, my captain. Lady Liara of Dantooine requests your presence.
Caseus got off the ship and safely reaffixed Sarah's braid around his neck before heading into the ship where Liara was getting herself ready. What is it?
I have a few questions about this party. First, what's the plan when I get inside?
I'll have Pip wire together an earpiece so I can talk to you. Once you're inside, I'll talk you through what to do. You'll have to leave your lightsaber here, but if we do this right, you shouldn't need it. Wait a little while before doing anything so you don't arouse suspicion. When the time comes, find Rax and tell him you're writing a HoloNet article about him. My guess is that all the wealth and power he has only glorified his ego. So if you can flatter him enough, I'm sure you can get him alone. When you do, ask him some questions to lower his guard. Then, when you're ready, the phrase I want you to say is, "How did you accumulate your fortune?" I'll take care of the rest.
Okay. And remember, you said you won't kill him.
Caseus nodded. I give you my word. I will not kill him. No tricks. No fatal wounds. I promise.
Okay. Good.
Caseus looked at Liara and could tell she was acting distant. Liara, something is bothering you. I can feel it.
It's nothing. I want this to be over and done with.
I know. Once Rax is paid for everything he's done,
then what? We just act like nothing happened?
Liara, what are you... Look.
You're my master, so I'll help. But I don't like this. What exactly will this bring you?
This isn't about me, Liara. This is about the people that died because of him. Liara fixed her hair and looked Caseus in the eyes.
Keep telling yourself that.
Liara went to her quarters to finish getting ready as Caseus clenched his fists and knocked over a stack of power cells.
Something on your mind, Captain?
Pip strutted in from outside. It's none of your business, Pip. We'll be gone by the end of the night anyway. We can put all of this mess behind us.
You know, I know it's none of my business, but maybe Liara's right. Maybe we should just leave before...
Caseus turned sharply to Pip. What do you know about any of this, Pip? You think that because you've been with us for a week, you suddenly know everything? You don't. You're a droid. You know nothing of the real world. Nothing of what that cruel bastard did to deserve what he has coming to him. So why don't you do us all a favor and just butt out? Pip looked at Caseus and down at the floor, before heading back towards the ramp.
You know, you and Liara are the only friends I've ever had. My last master left me to rot in a dumpster. I might be a droid, but I know what cruelty is. I'll be ready when you need me.
Pip stepped outside as Caseus sighed in frustration, sitting down on a crate with his face in his hands. The evening came and the sun was setting. As Caseus patiently sat, he heard the door behind him open as Liara stepped out in her dress, all gussied up for the party.
I'm ready.
Okay. Head for the administrator's palace. Instructions on how to get there are on the invitation.
Okay. I'll let you know when I get there.
Caseus nodded as Liara walked towards the ramp. Liara. Liara turned as Caseus looked at her and sighed. Be careful. I'll be there when you need me. Liara stared for a moment before leaving towards the city. Caseus watched as she left. So far, things were going well. So why did it feel so wrong? Liara made her way through the streets, blending in with an oncoming crowd of guests, heading towards a large, splendid palace towards the top level of the city. Stepping into a turbo lift, she could see out in the distance on the landing pad the nebulous. She thought about what they were doing. It didn't feel right at all. But she trusted her master, even if she didn't like what they were doing. The turbo lift opened as Liara walked with a crowd onto a pristine white stone pathway to the palace entrance. She was nervous as she saw armed guards lined up at the front, but kept her cool as she walked forward. Stepping in line, she inched towards the front entrance as guests handed their invitations in at the front desk. Finally, it was her turn. Handing her invitation over, the guard looked carefully at her before swiping the card and allowing her inside. Making her way upstairs to the ballroom, her eyes widened. Guests in lavish clothing were mingling around massive tables, polished to a mirror finish. On top of each table, cuisine from all corners of the galaxy were laid out in a decorative fashion. Looking up, she noticed large floating crystal chandeliers glowing with a vibrant yellow hue. Extravagant stained glass windows surrounded the entire room, late afternoon sunlight shining through and casting beautiful shades of color all throughout. In a single word, it was breathtaking. Looking around, amongst the sea of high-class individuals, she saw Rax, garbed in a white suit with a silver cape draped over his left shoulder. Tapping her earpiece, Liara spoke through her comlink.
Master, I'm in. I see him.
What's he doing?
He's drinking with a few guests. Looks like he's enjoying himself.
Keep your distance for now. Don't approach until later.
What am I supposed to do until then?
Try to have fun, mingle, I don't know. Don't draw attention to yourself by standing alone in a corner. In 1 hour, find Rax and approach him. Pip is getting me the layout of the palace as we speak. When you're ready, I'll find you.
Copy.
Liara looked around. What exactly was she supposed to do for fun? She'd never been to any kind of party before aside from a few harvest celebrations on Dantooine. She figured the best place to start would be with the food. Walking to the tables, she grabbed a plate and began to fill it with cuisine from Alderaan, Ord Cestus, Naboo, and even Mon Cala. As she did, she noticed a large tray of zakavas from Dantooine. Smiling, she took a few and looked at them. They reminded her of home. Sitting at a table, she ate. As she did, she heard a band begin to play slow music as the lights dimmed. She sighed in relief. This at least meant less attention could be drawn to her. Hi! Liara looked to her left and saw a young boy with dark green hair approach her. I'm Haji. May I ask your name?
Oh, I'm Kala.
A pleasure to meet you, Kala. Are you new to Cloud City?
Sort of. I'm visiting with my father. He took ill and couldn't make it to the ball, so I'm here in his absence.
So how does your father know the administrator?
Oh, he and my dad used to work together a long time ago. I don't know much else. What about you?
He's my father. Liara nearly choked and felt a lump form in her throat.
Really? That must be interesting.
It can be. He's really helped turn Cloud City around. You should have seen it before. Things have really cleaned up. People have more money, and even the miners have a better living. But enough about me. What about you? Where are you visiting from?
Chandrila.
Fascinating. I've never been there. What's it like?
It's beautiful. Not as beautiful as Cloud City, but there's oceans, cities, forests.
I want to see the ocean someday. It's nice here, but I want to see more of the galaxy.
You should. I've been to a few planets. I hope to see more.
Haji heard the music playing and looked at Liara. I know this is out of nowhere, but would you like to dance? Liara's face turned bright red.
That's thoughtful, but I don't know how.
Come on, it's easy, I'll show you. Haji held out his hand as Liara stared. Caseus did tell her to mingle after all. Slowly, she took Haji's hand as they made their way to the ballroom floor. Haji put his hand on her waist and took her other hand in his, causing Liara to sweat and her heart to beat quickly. Relax. Just follow my lead. Liara nodded as they slowly began to move back and forth to the rhythm of the music. Gradually, Liara began to feel more at ease as they slowly danced to the graceful tunes of the band. Back at the Nebulous, Caseus put on his cloak and readied his gear.
So what's the plan?
I'm going to sneak my way into the palace and find a safe spot to lay low. Have your comlink ready. As soon as we finish, we'll need you to pick us up.
Okay,
Don't worry. It's going to be fine.
if you say so.
Caseus stepped off the ship and silently made his way towards the palace. In the ballroom, Liara was slowly easing into the dance more and more. Finally, Haji dipped her low as she held his hand and the music ended. Staring at Haji, she felt little flutters in her stomach, a sensation she hadn't felt before. Only when she came to her senses did she hear loud applause and noticed everyone on the ballroom floor looking at the two of them. Liara stood and straightened her dress. Not bad for your first dance.
Thanks. That was fun.
Liara looked around and saw Rax walking over, clapping his beefy hands and laughing.
That was quite a performance, young lady. Well done. Very well done.
Liara touched her hand to her ear and activated her comlink.
Oh, thank you. You're the administrator, right?
That I am. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss,
Kala. It's a pleasure to meet you and your son.
I'm sure. Are you enjoying the festivities?
Very much so. Actually, sir.
Please, call me Rax.
Oh, okay. Rax. I'm studying to be a journalist, and I was given an opportunity to produce an article. If you don't mind, I'd love to ask you a few questions.
Of course. Allow me a few moments to speak with my colleagues, and I will be happy to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Haji, come with me. There's a few people I'd like to introduce you to.
Yes, Father.
It was a pleasure, Kala. Thank you. Thank you.
Haji followed his father as Liara stepped outside onto a quiet balcony, separated by large ornate doors.
Caseus, did you catch all that?
I heard. I'm almost there. Where are you?
I'm going to lead him to a balcony on the east side. Caseus, he has a son. Please, just don't do anything too much.
I'll be there soon. Caseus ended the call as Liara uneasily made her way back inside. Down below, Caseus had reached the outer wall of the palace. There were a few guards around, but nothing he couldn't handle if it came to it. As he looked around the exterior, he noticed that he was on the west side. If he was going to get to the east without being spotted, he would have to go around. There was a problem, however. There was no easy way to get around, as the palace was partially suspended over a long fall to the levels below. Looking at the side of the wall, he noticed a stone ledge that went all the way around the exterior of the palace. If he could keep his balance, he could scale his way around and use his grapple cable to climb the rest of the way. Carefully, he stepped over a railing and onto the ledge. It was barely enough to stand on, but he could do it. He had to. Slowly, he inched his way across the ledge. Carefully, step by step, he made it halfway around, when suddenly his comlink beeped, startling him and almost causing him to lose his balance. Taking a moment to breathe, he answered. What?
Hey, Captain, I forgot to tell you, you won't be able to get inside easily, but there should be a ledge around the palace where you can shimmy across.
Thanks, Pip.
Happy to help.
After what felt like hours, Caseus looked above and saw the east side balcony. Removing his grapple cable from his belt, he shot the hook up into the sky. A swift breeze nearly blew it off course, but it connected securely to the ledge of the balcony above. Now came the hard part. Looking down, Caseus saw the dim lights of the streets below, poking through a dense fog. Taking a deep breath, he stepped off the ledge and held onto the cable for dear life before slowly climbing upwards. Inside, Liara was waiting, fiddling with the hem of her dress when Rax walked over to her.
My apologies. Those barons can hold a conversation for hours. So, shall we begin?
Of course. Actually, I'm a little overwhelmed at the moment. Would you mind if we step outside where it's not quite so noisy?
Of course. Lead the way, dear.
Liara stood as her heart raced and a pit formed in her stomach. Maintaining her composure, she stepped through the large doors to the balcony, where the stars gleamed overhead. Rax sipped his drink and leaned against the railing.
So, what would you like to know?
Liara's mind raced to think of questions.
So, what is your most challenging job as administrator?
That is a difficult question. I would say the most difficult part of my job is having to say no to people. As administrator, I of course want everyone to enjoy the prosperous bounty that Cloud City offers. But there are those who wish to take more than they need. So I often find myself having to put my foot down against respected colleagues in order to ensure fair treatment to my citizens.
Fascinating. Is your job ever dangerous?
Oh, it absolutely can be. As fair as I am, I've made a few enemies in the past that would love nothing more than to hurt me. But that is why I have the best security. Nothing gets past them.
I see.
Looking over at the balcony railing, Liara saw a dangling grapple cable and turned her attention back to Rax.
So, you live quite a lavish lifestyle. How exactly did you accumulate your wealth?
Rax sipped his drink and looked unnerved for a moment, before returning to Liara.
I'll tell you how. Determination, hard work, and putting my trust in the right people.
Before either Rax or Liara could say anything else, the large balcony doors slammed shut and locked as Caseus stepped from the shadows, staring at a terrified Rax. Come on, Rax. Tell her the truth.
Caseus!
Caseus walked forward to Rax, who dropped his drink, the crystal goblet shattering on the floor. Go on. Tell her. Tell her how you betrayed us. How you abandoned your own crew and let them die to save your sorry hide. Rax looked around nervously and ran towards the door, only for Caseus to reach out with the force, grabbing Rax by his foot and pulling him back as Liara stared in discomfort.
No, please, let's talk. You want money. I can make you rich.
Caseus gripped Rax by his collar and punched him in the face, knocking him to the floor, leaving the pudgy administrator in a dazed mess. You can't buy your way out of this one, Rax. Caseus picked him up again and held him by his throat, twisting his head to face a scared Liara. Why don't you tell her the truth? Tell me the truth. Why? Why did you betray us? Rax's expression turned from fear to anger as he glared at Caseus.
Because of you. You were leading us into a suicide mission. What chance did we have? None. I was the only one smart enough to see it. I made a deal with Lord Vader that if he spared my life and granted me my fortune, I would lead you right to him. You were going to fail anyway. Why should I have gone down with the rest of you?
Caseus clenched Rax by his throat, his eyes full of anger, as he slowly moved Rax closer to the balcony ledge. You coward.
Caseus, no!
Caseus glared at Rax and held him inches from a terrifying fall. Just as Caseus prepared to drop him, Liara pulled her master and Rax back with the force.
No! Stop it! You promised, Caseus! Let it go, please!
Liara,
I know what he's done. But killing him won't solve anything. Think about what this will cause. Think about his son.
Caseus slowly looked from Rax back to Liara, his heart torn on what his next move would be. Rax deserved to die. It was all he deserved. That was what he felt, until he saw the fear in Liara's eyes. She wasn't looking at him like a wise master. She was looking at him as though he were a snarling beast. His mind went back to Zolan and his gang, after they destroyed Sabo's farm. The anger he unleashed. It brought him nothing. His rage against Vader. Nothing. He was following into the same trap he had before.
Please, Caseus. Let him go.
Caseus looked down at Rax, shivering in fear, and slowly let go. Rax shuffled back towards the balcony, keeping his distance as Caseus stood. Rax, your cowardice cost the lives of your crew.
and my friends. You deserve to die for what you've done.
Rax stared in fear with his hands in front of his face.
But I won't be the one to take your life.
Know this. All of the wealth in the galaxy, all the power, all the fame, you got it through an act of betrayal. Your soul is tainted, and I pity you. Rax's eyes looked downward as Caseus nodded to Liara and grabbed his comlink.
Pip, get us out of here.
Liara smiled softly and put her hand on her master's back, when suddenly, Rax's eyes filled with hatred, as he suddenly grabbed onto Liara and using his strength tried to haul her to the balcony edge and throw her off. Caseus quickly grabbed Liara and held her back, causing Rax to slip and fall backwards over the balcony, hanging onto a small railing over the side. Caseus looked from Liara to Rax, and gritting his teeth, ran over, leaning over the side, reaching out. "Rax, grab onto me!" Rax quickly tried to grab hold of Cassius' hand, just inches out of reach. Before he could grab it, his grip failed, and Rax fell, screaming, down through the clouds to the streets below. Cassius closed his eyes in disappointment, as Liara stood back to her feet in shock. Cassius looked at her as she shook in fear. "Are you okay?" Liara nodded and shakily hugged Cassius. Cassius returned the hug and held her tightly, when they heard pounding on the doors behind them.
Open the doors, right now!
Cassius looked around for a way out, but saw nothing.
Stay behind me.
Liara stepped behind Cassius when the loud sounds of engines broke through the air. Turning, they saw the nebulous and the ramp opening.
Come on!
Cassius and Liara leapt onto the ramp just as the doors were being forced open.
Pip, get us off Bespin.
Got it.
The ramp closed as the nebulous flew off into the sky and away from Cloud City. Cassius and Liara both collapsed, their breathing heavy.
Where to?
Just get us away from Cloud City.
Cassius looked at Liara, who was crying into her knees. He felt awful. Reaching over, he held her close as she sobbed into his cloak. Liara was right. They should have left when they had the chance. Cassius didn't kill Rax, but he was responsible. It wouldn't have happened if he'd just listened. Soon, Liara cried herself to sleep, as Cassius picked her up and placed her in her bed, before sitting alone. What could they do? Things wouldn't be the same between them. His credibility as a master, as a Jedi, would forever be questioned by his pupil. Standing up and going to the cockpit, he made his decision and began punching in coordinates.
Where are we headed?
Cassius didn't answer.
Hey, you alright?
Cassius looked over at Pip and back down at the nav computer as they jumped to light speed.